Hello. For this week's Newbery Award-winning book, I read Dear Mr. Henshaw by Beverly Cleary, illustrated by Paul O. Zielinski. Copyright date 1983. It has 134 pages, and the age range is 10 to 14. Um, this book is written from Lee's point of view, starting in second grade when he starts writing letters to his favorite author, Boyd Henshaw. They continue through his sixth grade year when his teacher assigns an assignment to them to write to their favorite author. He gets a little irritated with Mr. Henshaw because some of his responses are snarky and short, but he does respond, and he ends up telling him to get a journal and start writing in his journal, and he sends him a list of questions for him to answer back, which really irritates Lee. Um, but really, what Mr. Henshaw was trying to do was to get Lee into writing, since he says he wants to grow up and be an author. Um, right before sixth grade, Lee's parents divorce, so they move into a new neighborhood, a new house, a new school. He's a new kid at school. He's very lonely. His dad's an over-the-road trucker, so they don't have a very close relationship, but he does have a close relationship with his mom. Um, like I said, he's lonely. His mother works for a caterer while she's attending nursing school, so Lee spends a lot of time alone, and he thinks his only friend is the janitor at school. In the illustrations in this book, there aren't very many since it's written for older kids, but they're written in pen, um, or drawn in pen, I should say. Um, every day, someone steals food out of Lee's lunch because it's so tasty from the caterer. So he goes to the library, gets a book, and learns how to make a lunchbox alarm. And he's so excited to catch this thief, but this day the thief doesn't steal any food from his lunchbox. So he's forced to open his lunchbox in the cafeteria, which causes a lot of noise and interest from everyone from the principal to the teachers to the other students. And then before you know it, all the other kids are bringing lunchbox alarms to school too. But this opens up the way for a friendship with a boy named Barry, who becomes his best friend. Um, my favorite part of this book was actually on page 80 when Mr. Fridley, the janitor, thwarts Lee from drop kicking someone else's lunch out of frustration down the hall. And Mr. Fridley says, "Who wants to be friends with someone who scowls all the time?" He says, "So you've got problems." "Well, so has everyone else, if you take the trouble to notice." He says, "Turning into a mean-eyed lunch kicker won't help anything. You got to think positively." Lee asks, "How?" He says, "Well, that's for you to figure out." Which I um, think that lends itself to the moral of the story, is finding positivity in everything in life. But so Lee's story that he writes for the Young Reader's Yearbook wins honorable mention, which is frustrating to him. But due to plagiarism of another student, she's disqualified. So Lee gets to go to lunch with a famous author in her place. And the author praises his writing style and calls him an author, which sets him on cloud nine. So another lesson that I got out of this was not to cheat on anything in life, no assignments, not anything, and that perspective is everything. And having a positive perspective in life will get you a lot further than scowling and being grumpy and just, like I said, being grumpy. My activity would be to have the students answer those questions on pages 14 to 30 that Mr. Henshaw wrote to Lee, and have them answer them as if they were writing back to their favorite author. And then another thing I thought might be kind of fun would be to turn this into a STEAM activity. I would allow them to work either on their own or in groups of 2 or 3. This would be an outside of school project. And I'd have them create their own lunchbox alarms that they would bring into class and present for us to see. I think that would be fun. Thanks.